Today, we're looking into a really pivotal time in Sri Ramakrishna's life.
Focusing on his relationship with Mathur, a wealthy landowner, but also a really devoted follower.
That's right, and our sources are excerpts from the biography Life of Sri Ramakrishna. It gives such a rich picture.
It really does. So this biography, it kind of paints this picture of Mathur not just as, a benefactor.
No, not at all. He was much more a crucial anchor, really, and a significant spiritual companion for the master.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. This period follows the death of Akshay, who was important in their circle.
Right. A sad time.
And Mathur, maybe sensing Sri Ramakrishna needed, some solace or just a change of scene.
Yeah, perhaps.
He takes him, along with Ride, that's Sri Ramakrishna's nephew and attendant on this tour of his estates.
And it's on this tour pretty early on that we hit this first really striking moment.
The visit to the poor village.
Yes, near Vajanath. The biography describes it vividly, just desperate poverty. And Sri Ramakrishna's reaction. It wasn't just passing pity.
No, it says he was profoundly affected, deeply moved by the suffering.
It ignited something powerful in him.
Yeah.
An immediate need to act.
Absolutely. The text uses the phrase passionate appeal to Mathur. He wasn't just feeling bad, he was urging Mathur, do something.
Hey, Mathur.
He did, right away. He listened, fed the starving villagers, gave everyone cloth.
Which really shows Mathur's devotion, his understanding of Sri Ramakrishna's heart. He didn't hesitate.
It reflected that core belief, didn't it? Unity of all beings, the need to relieve suffering now. That was quite, radical for some back then.
It absolutely was. And it highlights their dynamic perfectly. You've got this spiritual figure, no material wealth himself, wielding this immense moral influence over a very wealthy man. And the wealthy man uses his resources based on his guru's compassion.
It shows Mathur wasn't just funding things, he was participating, deeply involved.
Exactly. His role was multifaceted, integral.
So from that display of empathy, the story shifts. Completely different scene next.
Right. We move to Calcutta, a gathering of Vaishnava devotees.
At the home of Kalanath Dutta. And this community was deeply devoted to Sri Chaitanya. He was their chosen ideal.
They even had a special seat set aside, Sri Chaitanya's seat, covered in flowers and garland.
And the belief was, they felt he subtly manifested there during their ceremonies.
Yeah, understanding that reverence for Sri Chaitanya is key here. Within Vaishnavism, he's considered an avatar, a divine incarnation.
So that seat wasn't just symbolic, it was sacred space, treated with the utmost respect.
Precisely.
Okay, so Sri Ramakrishna and Ride arrive at this gathering. A reading from the Bhagavata is happening, a central Vaishnava text.
Sri Ramakrishna listens.
And he just gets completely swept up, overwhelmed with spiritual emotion. What happens next is, it's pretty extraordinary.
The biography describes him just rushing towards Sri Chaitanya's seat. Spontaneously.
And he enters samadhi.
Yes, that deep state of spiritual absorption, non-dual consciousness. He becomes still, hands raised, almost like depictions of Sri Chaitanya himself.
With a serene smile.
And the devotees. Instead of being shocked that someone just occupied their sacred seat,
they were filled with awe. They recognized the samadhi.
They started chanting Hari's name joyously, all the usual rules, the decorum, just suspended because of this incredible spiritual event.
Amazing. But this powerful moment, it didn't end there, did it? It caused some ripples later.
It did. It became a point of contention, actually. Shows how even shared traditions can interpret intense experiences differently.
Right. So after Sri Ramakrishna leaves, the devotees start talking. Some are critical, they see it as disrespectful.
But others defend him strongly. They saw the divinity in the act.
They couldn't agree, so they decide to seek advice.
From Bhagavan Das Babaji, a highly respected Vaishnava saint in Kalna, elderly, in his 80s, known across Bengal, people went to him for guidance on big spiritual questions.
So they tell him what happened. And his initial reaction, based just on what he heard,
was negative, very negative. You can understand. Hearing someone unfamiliar occupied the seat of his revered Sri Chaitanya.
He was displeased, criticized the action sharply, said it shouldn't happen again.
And Sri Ramakrishna himself, totally unaware of this whole controversy brewing.
Which just sets the stage perfectly for their own meeting, doesn't it?
Exactly. Because not long after this, in 1870, Sri Ramakrishna, Mathur, and Ride take a boat trip.
Destination, Nadia, Sri Chaitanya's birthplace.
But their plan included a stop in Kalna, specifically to meet Bhagavan Das Babaji.
The timing is just, wow, right after the Kalatala incident. Adds a layer of potential drama.
Definitely anticipation.
So they arrive in Kalna. Mathur sorts out their lodging. Sri Ramakrishna, meanwhile, he's described as being quite shy around respected strangers.
Like a child, the biography notes.
So he sends Friday ahead to announce them. He follows a little way behind, covered with a sheet.
Interestingly, Bhagavan Das apparently had a premonition, felt a great soul was arriving.
Suggests some intuition there. But when he sees only Friday at first, he goes back to a conversation he was having.
Yeah, about some Vaishnava who done something wrong. He was actually issuing an order to expel the man from the sect.
And it's then that Friday announces his uncle, describing him as someone deeply moved just by hearing God's name.
Sri Ramakrishna enters, sits humbly, still partly veiled. Polite greetings are exchanged.
Then Friday asks Bhagavan Das a question, maybe a bit cheekily, about why he still uses prayer beads if he's already realized.
And Bhagavan Das replies, that he does it as an example for others, to keep them on the path.
And that's the trigger.
That's the moment. Sri Ramakrishna, the biography says, was deeply pained by any hint of ego, especially from holy men. His own reliance on the Divine Mother made that kind of statement jarring.
He couldn't stay silent. What happens next is pure drama. He stands up.
The sheet falls. Even his outer cloth slips off. A halo, a light, appears around his face.
And he declares, the biography quotes him, "What? You dare to think like that? You pose as a teacher. You will expel a man. Who are you to teach men? You dare not teach unless he allows you." Something like that. Forceful.
And in that instant, he falls into samadhi.
Imagine being Bhagavan Das, accustomed to reverence and this spiritual thunderbolt.
Completely taken aback. But the words, they hit home, forced him to look at his own potential ego. He immediately saw the spiritual power radiating from Sri Ramakrishna.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it? Even revered figures can be challenged, can grow. Truth transcends hierarchy.
Absolutely. And the reconciliation afterwards is just as remarkable.
They talk more. Sri Ramakrishna often goes into trance. Bhagavan Das becomes completely convinced.
And when he learns this, is the same person from Kolatala.
He feels terrible about his earlier criticism, deeply regrets it, asks for pardon humbly.
And Sri Ramakrishna, ever generous, tells Mathur about it later, praising Bhagavan Das for his eventual understanding.
Mathur then visits Bhagavan Das himself, makes a donation to the ashram. It's a beautiful resolution.
It truly demonstrates the power of genuine spiritual encounters to overcome misunderstandings and ego.
Okay, so from Kalna, they continue towards Nadia.
But as the boat nears the town, near these sandbanks, another extraordinary event.
Sri Ramakrishna is just overcome with emotion. So intense.
So intense, Friday has to physically grab him to stop him falling into the Ganges.
Thinking back to the village incident, Mathur's response was so quick. Does the biography give more insight into why he was always so ready? Was that typical?
It consistently portrays Mathur as exceptionally devoted, really attuned to Sri Ramakrishna. His speed in the village seems characteristic. He saw the master's state, understood the need. It suggests a very deep connection, anticipating wishes almost, a unique discipleship.
That makes sense. So this intense emotion at the sandbanks, it contrasts sharply with what happens when they actually get to Nadia town.
Right. He visits temples there, but nothing. Feels no spiritual upliftment.
Which for him was a clear sign he's disappointed, feels a lack of divinity there.
But the sandbanks, that feeling needs explaining. And the explanation comes soon after.
They move offshore a bit, and he has this vision.
A remarkable one. He sees two boys, bright as molten gold, radiant halos around their heads.
Rushing towards him, merging into his body.
And he falls unconscious. Just imagine witnessing that.
Incredible. And he later explains it to Mathur. Says those sandbanks, that was the original site of Nadia.
The true birthplace of Sri Gauranga, Sri Chaitanya, swallowed by the river long ago.
So that's why he felt that overwhelming connection there, not in the current town. It speaks volumes about sacred ground, connection to the past.
A profound realization.
So with that earlier tension about Kalatala resolved and this powerful experience at Nadia, it leads us towards the final phase of Mathur's own story.
Yes, the end of their long relationship. 16 years they were incredibly close.
A time that deeply transformed Mathur himself.
But then, July 1871, Mathur suddenly falls ill. Typhoid fever.
And Sri Ramakrishna, he knows from the start, has a premonition. This is it. Senses the Divine Mother is calling Mathur back.
It's interesting though, despite knowing, he doesn't visit Mathur personally while he's sick.
No, he sends Friday for daily updates. The biography suggests A kind of acceptance or understanding of the divine process unfolding.
Perhaps. Then the final day comes. Mathur is taken to Calicut.
And that day, Sri Ramakrishna doesn't send Tride. Instead, he goes into a deep trance for hours.
The biography describes it so movingly. His body stayed in Dakshinaswar, but his spirit went to Mathur's side to bless his final moments.
Just after 5 p.m., Sri Ramakrishna comes out of the trance, tells Tride that Mathur's soul has ascended to the Deviloka, the realm of the Divine Mother.
And later that night, news arrives. Mathur passed away at 5 p.m.
There's also that little anecdote afterwards, isn't there? A devotee asks about Mathur's rebirth.
Yeah, asks if he'll have to be reborn, and Sri Ramakrishna's reply is insightful, but brief.
He hints that Mathur's earthly desires, his hankerings for enjoyment, might lead him to be reborn perhaps as a prince.
It's a very human touch, acknowledging those lingering attachments, even in a great devotee. A relatable view on reincarnation's complexities.
And Mathur's death, the biography really stresses this marks the end of an era, a really significant one.
Absolutely. Their relationship, described as almost predestined, saw Mathur faithfully care for the mother's beloved child.
His passing was a crucial turning point. It cleared the way, you could say, for a new phase in Sri Ramakrishna's work.
The emergence of a new group of devotees, as the book itself notes.
So looking back at this whole period we've dived into, several key insights really stand out.
Definitely. First, that profound compassion Sri Ramakrishna showed for the villagers. Just immediate, active empathy.
Then the whole Kalutola incident and its resolution with Bhagavan Das, it shows so much about spiritual authority, ego, humility, genuine recognition.
And that powerful encounter in Kalna itself, challenging ego, finding deeper truth.
And his connection to Nadia, the vision. That deep link to Sri Chaitanya, the power of sacred places.
And underlying it all, the unique, vital relationship with Mathur.
Yeah. For me, the real aha moments were Sri Ramakrishna challenging Bhagavan Das, that unexpected forcefulness.
Right. It shakes up your idea of how these interactions might go.
And the vision on the sandbank, so mystical. And also, the quiet way Sri Ramakrishna handled Mathur's death, that deep spiritual understanding.
It all prompts reflection, doesn't it, on the nature of spiritual experience itself, how diverse it is.
How different spiritual figures interact, learn from each other, the complexities of devotion.
And the crucial role of people like Mathur, the devoted supporter, often behind the scenes, but essential.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to take away. Think about that interplay. Established authority versus the sudden, maybe disruptive arrival of profound realization.
How do we recognize genuine insight? And what role does humility play for everyone involved? For the seeker and for those being recognized?
It's a question that definitely echoes beyond this specific story. We really encourage you to explore more about Sri Ramakrishna's life and teachings. It's incredibly rich territory.
I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.